Come on, Google. All right. And we are live. Welcome to the Iron Lords podcast, episode number 54. And it's another glorious Sunday, and we are back at the round table on the Lord's Day. I'm extremely excited about our special guest, and we've got Nintendo Direct and Inside Xbox presentations to discuss, so we're going to get right into it. I want to introduce a Lord who is not only critical to the vitality of the gaming industry, but in my opinion, represents the few to truly have a finger on the pulse of the culture. This Lord is a true gamer who is extremely personable, down to earth, and it is always a pleasure to hear his informative viewpoints on both the Super Deformed Games Cast and the Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Introducing the United States video games industry analyst of the iconic NPD group, the Lord of precise analytics, detailed industry trends, and the man responsible for getting overly sensitive fanboys and their feelings every month. Making his debut into the realm of the Lords, my man, Lord Matt Piscatella. How you doing, sir?
Holy cow. Wow.
You're in the realm of the Lords, man.
Geez, what do you? Thanks. That's like you talking to me. All right, cool. Thank you. Hi, it's good to be hanging out with you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. You're a Lord at what you do. We really respect your work, man. Huge fan. I love tuning in to the SDGC and BRAP, and I always respect your viewpoints. Very solid, man. Really appreciate you. And a pleasure to have you actually on the show.
Thank you. Right on. Thank you.
Absolutely. And of course, we have the four horsemen of gaming, those usual suspects at the round table. My co-host with the co-most, my brother from another mother, will be joining us soon in progress. But of course, we have our most technical gaming Lord, the solo gamer who lives for the single player selfish experience, and also the Lord of receipts, Mr. Offline Profile Illuminati, my man, Lord Sovereign. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. Glad to be at least 75%, going forward.
Voice sounded better.
Voice sounded better. Yeah, yesterday I was still sounding horrible yesterday. And the funny thing is, like last Sunday after the show, like I just kept going downhill to the point where I told White Bear, I was like, we got to go to the doctor. So I get to the doctor and I'm like, my throat is hoarse. I'm not feeling too great. And so, they do a slew of tests or whatever. They're like, so you have walking pneumonia, and in addition to
walking pneumonia,
you have a throat infection and ear infection. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm on the cusp of death. You're telling me? And I had no idea,
no clue. But all you thought was a sore throat.
Yeah, I just like my voice is gone. And so yeah, I have all the drugs though. All the drugs.
So you're antibiotic up.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay. Yeah, don't scare us like that. Yeah, that's pretty serious. Huh?
Yeah, man. I was like, my eyes opened. I said, really? I mean, what the heck? Like, where'd this come from? But
Well, we're glad to have you back in the realm of the Lords, healthy and hopefully pneumonia free.
Yeah, hopefully.
No doubt. And of course, we have the excess gamer.
Ooh.
The Lord of Combat Sports, who is a man of his convictions, demands nothing less than that premium experience. It is the Tiki Torch Extinguisher.
Ooh.
Beloved Lord King, how you doing, sir?
Oh my God! Do you understand how good I'm feeling today? The boxing gods showed praise last night over these two combat individuals. Now, you had a lot of combat going on last night, and I'm just going to get to the cusp of the fantastic fight that you had in front of you, brought to you by, guess who again? Who? Al Heyman and Showtime
Boxing. You're a huge fan. I know you're a huge fan.
Is not playing this year. They're not playing this year. They're putting butts in seats, and they're getting that heart racing. Now, let me tell you something about Sergey Lipinets. All right, now Sergey Lipinets was fighting Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia was a 20-1 favorite. You couldn't tell Sergey Lipinets this because he was the champion. Okay. You understand? He went to Texas to fight Mikey in Mikey's backyard. The ball's on this kid. He was 20, I think 22 years old, young kid, and I could do nothing but root for this kid because I saw it in his face when everybody's in the stadium is against you. He was up against it.
I respect that. It's like you're on the road, right? Like,
yes, sir.
I respect that. That's a lot of heart. Yeah,
they said his name. They said the champions, and he's a champion. They said his name, and he got booed. His wife was there. She was in hostile territory for her husband.
You paint the picture, baby.
Yes, man. You know why? Because it tugged at my heartstrings. This boy was there. It was a rocky moment he was going to have. And he was up against an exceptional talent in Mikey Garcia. And Mikey Garcia did not let anyone in that stadium down. These guys pitched a war, I'm telling you. They pitched a war, a fourth, back and forth, left, right. They was hitting each other with punches that was so beautiful. They were hitting each other at the same time. It was like a Rocky movie. It was insane. It was just Mikey's an exceptional talent. Lipinets was trained and is trained by the great Buddy McGirt.
Buddy, I remember Buddy McGirt. Wow, I'm showing my age.
Yes,
I remember Buddy McGirt. Wow.
Listen, I had to show wifey what Buddy McGirt looked like. You understand? And this man, he's the essence of boxing, and he passed his DNA on to this kid, and this kid looked like a Russian Buddy McGirt.
Okay, I gotta watch, man. Showtime. You sold me. You sold me. Last time you put me on the Errol Spence.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm definitely what Sovereign. Do you get the cosign? Do I get the
you definitely get the cosign. Like this kid came in there, and again, Mikey is coming up in weight class. Mikey, his power is unproven at 140. So you just didn't know how it was going to translate. And initially, it looked like he was going to be. I mean, he was tested. Regardless, he was tested. But this kid was absolutely the reincarnation of Buddy McGirt. He really was. And it was fantastic to see Mikey pressed like that. Because again, it's going to open him up to bigger and bigger fights.
Yeah, see, so nice. Mikey drops the kid. Both Mikey and Lipinets throw left hooks. Mikey's is a little bit sharper, hits him on the chin. This is where the season comes in. This is the kid's 13th pro fight. All right, he has 13 pro fights and 10 knockouts. Okay, so the boy is in there and he's mixing it up with Mikey, who has 39 fights with 30 knockouts. Okay, no losses. And both of these guys had no losses, and it showed on their record. My hat is off to Lipinets. Lipinets, I would like to tell you, sir, you were in the building. I was rooting for you.
I've never heard King give this much praise. This is like insane.
Listen, I tried to give my energy through the TV to the guy. Take all the King has to give you. Knock Mikey out with one of these good shots. I mean, he hit Mikey. Mikey nose was exploding every other round with blood. It was such a great fight. And I say, I look forward to you, young man. I look forward to you going forward. I know there's nothing but great things for you. His wife got into the ring. She gave her husband such a passionate kiss at the end because she was proud of him like I was proud of him. You understand? Buddy was proud of him. And the boxing community as a whole was greater for last night.
Good for him. Shout out to Lipinets and the crew and Buddy McGirt. No doubt.
Did we have any UFC last night? I'm so sorry that time messed me up.
No, it was perfect. There was no UFC last night. I don't know if there was any Bellator or anything like that, but no big UFC stuff. So
yeah, no big UFC stuff going on right
now.
Yeah,
check this out. Check this out, right? So I'm finishing, right? I finished the fight, and we watching Thor Ragnarok after. So I told the kids, you can watch Thor Ragnarok. Daddy shoot out to work, and he'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right. So we watching Thor Ragnarok, and it's 2:00, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. 3:00. I said, what the hell just happened to the clock?
King is fine. Not to cut you, King. We gotta move on. We gotta
let's do this. Go for this. I said, we don't want to put back with our
fight talk. And of course, it is Lord Cognito here, spreading that gaming realness on the ILP. Not telling you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. So before we get into what the Lords are playing this week, I want to start off with Lord Piscatella. his video game system history, also his journey in the entertainment software industry for over 15 years, and of course, what led him to the legendary NPD group. So, Lord Piscatella, let's start from the beginning. From a gaming perspective, what were kind of like the first systems you had, and what kind of got you into gaming?
Oh man, so my uncle, when I was 4 years old, brought over like the 2600. I think on the day it came out or something.
Ooh, wow.
And he fired up asteroids on that thing, and then I was pretty much done. I'm like, yeah, I want all of it. And then really, when I finally got one and started getting into Pitfall and Star Raiders and Kaboom, man, like I was pretty much done. So
classics.
Yeah, that was my start in gaming. Played Pong at the original bar that was in San Francisco, where it was put up for the first time, like in 70, must have been 76, 77, somewhere in there when I was like 3 or 4. So yeah. Man, I've been a big fan of games from the very beginning.
So 2600 was the first, right?
Yeah, the first home system. Yeah, and I was pretty much sold after that. So
nice.
Yeah, so apparently, according to some people in the government, I should be out, doing bad things. But I just want people to have fun and hang out and be groovy. And so
God forbid it influence us in a positive way, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, that's pretty good. And then I found my way after working for Banana Boat suntan lotion for a while and working on some dog food analysis. I was working at Pedigree, analyzing 16-ounce cans of lamb wet dog food. Yeah, dude. So I made it to Activision.
Nice. What was your role at Activision?
I worked there. Well, I had like 6 jobs in 6 years. I worked in sales planning, trade marketing, retail planning, long-range forecasting, everything with basically a revenue number. So did that. I think my first game I worked on was Shrek 2.
Oh wow!
And then all the way through like the Guitar Hero, the Call of Duty era, and all that fun stuff.
Nice.
Headed over to Warner for like the last 8 or 9 years as a vice president of sales planning over there with Batman and Mortal Kombat and Scribblenauts and Lego and all that fun stuff. So
wow, very cool, very cool. Two big entities. Now my question, I just want to bring you back just a little bit because I gotta get the history. So from the 2600, where did you progress system wise? Give me like the next almost chronological order for you from a console perspective.
All right, so 2600, then the Dreamcast for like a minute.
Okay.
Then the NES, where I was a Contra and Blades of Steel guy.
Blades of Steel, remember that? Wow, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a good game. Blades of Steel. Then I built my first gaming PC around 96.
Okay.
About the same time I got into Genesis and NHL, 93, 94.
Wait a minute, you talking iconic NHLs now. You talking 9-4 now. Like that's huge. Actually, we had Bill Stillwell on the show, and that's one of his like favorites of all time. People are arguably saying it's the greatest hockey game of all time.
Okay, so there's two schools of thought here, right? First, there's NHLPA 93, right? It wasn't actually NHL because it wasn't licensed by the league. It wasn't
licensed, correct.
But it was licensed by the Players Association, so you could actually fight in NHLPA 93.
Yes.
But in NHL 94 is the more iconic that was in Swingers, right? That had
that was the classic scene with it. Yes.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of discussion about how NHL 94 is the greatest hockey game ever made, but I would argue that NHLPA 93 is still the best hockey game ever made. And I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
Lord Piscatella, we're gonna get Bill Stillwell back on the show. We're gonna have an NHL 93 versus NHL 94 square on because you guys are hardcore. I love it.
Over at Warner Brothers, we had a big tournament. We had an NHLPA 93 tournament I put on. That was a lot of fun. We had like 64 entrants and had a blast doing that. So yeah, I still have a Sega Genesis hooked up just for NHLPA 93.
Was a great system. Now, did the Super Nintendo sneak in there at all, or you kind of?
No. Then I fell down a PC hole, and I was basically a PC only gamer until. God, the mid 90s when I picked up 360 and PS3, or mid 2000s where I picked up a 360 and PS3. So I never had an N64.
Okay.
NES, an N64, or whatever came after that, the Cube. Never had any of those. I was pretty much PC only. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, but then when I got in the industry in like 2005, I bought everything ever since. So
Yeah, that
my claim is for work.
No doubt. Now you did mention Activision Blizzard, and you mentioned Warner Brothers specifically. Like any specific memories, anything that stand out during your run during those two kind of major entities?
Yeah, there's so many. The industry from the perspective of people that follow it from like a fan perspective, like there's a lot of misconceptions out there about how the publishers are these big corporate entities full of suits and everything is science and everyone's very serious and understands everything that's going on and they have plans and big machinations. Really, like the publishers are just normal people and they're hoping that things go right and sometimes they don't. I mean, a couple of the ones that really stand out to me was the morning after Call of Duty 2 released on the 360.
Huge game.
Yeah, it was a huge game, but we didn't know it would be at the time. Like Call of Duty 1 on PC did pretty well, but it wasn't Call of Duty.
Right.
So the day after Call of Duty 2 launches, and if you remember, that was the game that had the $10 price hike.
Yes.
First game. Yeah.
Correct.
That was the first game launched at 59, and everyone was really nervous about that. And I got in very early the next day. I was the second person in the office behind our VP of sales. And I remember sitting there about 6:15 in the morning. She got her first call from the East Coast saying that Call of Duty 2 did really well. And she said, I think we have a hit. And that was like the beginning of really Call of Duty becoming Call of Duty. So, that was really fun.
Huge. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that was really fun. Times like when I was at another meeting where basically they wanted to make Blur the adult version of Mario Kart. That was pretty funny.
Really?
Yeah, that didn't work out so well. And then like when Tony Hawk's Ride was coming out, I don't know if you remember that. It was a
with the skateboard
game. Yeah, it's had a big plastic skateboard. It had tech in it. And our CEO at the time, not Bobby, but Mike Griffith, came over to the area where it was hanging out, and he got on the board, and he almost fell off and like hit his head.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah, just fun stuff like that, man.
It's fun stuff like that.
There's just so many crazy stories, and it's just one of those things like you read the message board posts and you read Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, these gaming companies, they know what they're doing. They're out to screw us," and blah blah blah. And no, like sometimes. So I was around for the Project $10 initiative when Catwoman. I don't know if you remember, but Arkham City Catwoman was a $10 charge for people that were buying it used. Like we didn't know, like we didn't have like we were like, well, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. Like I don't know. It didn't work, right? So, anyways, stuff like that happens all the time. But yeah, those are just some of the fun memories.
No doubt, no doubt. So do you think the perception is like, I know gamers today, like a lot of the big, they almost look like the evil corporation. Like, do you feel like, I mean, we all know this is a money-making business, but do you feel like it's that gamers have a misperception, in reference to that? Like that they're all out to get them?
Well, some of them are out to get them, sure. Like, I know some evil... Man, I know some evil... There are some Machiavellis out there, right? And there are, like, as there are in any industry, there are people who are trying to get over. But the vast majority of people want to do what's right for people, like their game. They want to like feel good about what they're doing. They want their customers to feel really good about buying stuff. And I think the overwhelming majority of people, when they do things or they create programs or games, like they're trying to make things that people really like that can also pay the bills,
Absolutely. I appreciate your honesty on that. That's really cool. And then lastly, in reference to the NPD group, that's a huge deal as gamers. I know it's going to be one of my questions I'll have for you a little later, but it's a huge deal, as far as what's going on in the industry and the health of the industry. Kind of what led you down that path to link up with them?
Yeah, so like I've been doing forecasting and planning for like 15 years. I've worked on everything from Guitar Hero to Lego Dimensions to Skylanders to Call of Duty to Mortal Kombat. Like I've worked on some of the biggest games in the world. Really enjoyed it, but like I miss being able to talk to people at games. So like there's this huge secrecy veil across the industry, and for many reasons.
Mhm.
But if you work at a publisher, like, you can't talk about anything, right? And
Yeah.
I wanted to hang out and talk about video games with people. I wanted to go talk to retailers. I wanted to go talk to other publishers and share ideas and talk about what was working and what wasn't, and how can we make the games industry better? How can we provide better products for people? How do we do things in the right way that
Nice.
we focus on the things that can help grow the business while also being good to the customer, So, and I've been enjoying that a lot. Like, I get to, like, I just came back from a week where I got to meet with 2 major retailers and 4 major publishers and
Nice.
just chat video games and
Mhm.
try to figure out what's going on, because this industry is freaking weird, man, and things change really fast. And
Mhm.
if you're not really on top of it and trying to understand what's going on, you're going to be left behind. And so that's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. Sounds really cool. And then we're going to ask this last question as far as your gaming history. I've been doing this for a little while now. It's going to be a tough one. I need your top 5 video game franchises of all time.
All right, top 5. Okay, so number 5, I'm going to call it the General series. The games like Panzer General, Pacific General, Panzer General 2.
Okay. Nice.
Old turn-based world, or basically strategic mass scale games. I would put Mario in that top 5. I would put Wolfenstein in the top 5.
Classic.
I'd put the Witcher series in the top 5.
Nice.
And I would also put the Lego games in the top 5. Which I know is a dark horse. But I like the Lego games, man. They're really fun just to go beat up some bricks for a while.
Exactly. All right, that's a diverse group. I respect that. No doubt, man. Gotta respect the top 5 in gaming. Lord Addict, have you entered the room, sir? Let's see you pop in.
Yeah, sorry, I've been having a lot of tooth issues.
Yeah, I know you're not feeling well, man. Good to have you.
I was even like, I think I'm just gonna miss ILP today. I was like, no, it was like, we had our guest at least. At least I should show my respect.
No, I appreciate it.
I dealt with the messed up tooth.
Yeah, he's going through.
I sound like a
you were
squirrel.
where I am. I had to get the wisdom tooth done, so that I know that pain. It's awful.
If I sound like a squirrel, though, that's just how it's gonna be.
It's okay, man. I appreciate you coming through. So that's cool, man. Great history, Lord Piscatella. I want to get into what the Lords are playing this week. So let's start with Lord Piscatella himself again. What game specifically have you been touching this week?
So I've been on a lot of planes and in a lot of hotel rooms the last few weeks. So I've been saving Zelda for this time of year.
Nice.
I'm in my 3rd Divine Beast. I'm really enjoying the hell out of it. I mean, all the superlatives people have been talking about it are true.
Mm-hmm.
Probably about 50 hours in, and I'm just kind of taking my time and exploring the world and just having a blast. So I'm a little behind the times, but that one's taking all my time right now.
That's a great one to save. No doubt. Sounds good. Let me give Lord Addict his intro, since he may be limited with the wisdom tooth issue. My brother, of course, we have my brother from another mother, my co-host with the co-most, the difficult game conqueror, and the young How. What's going on?
Like every time I do something, you're just going to keep adding to my intro?
I keep adding more superlatives.
I'm down with that. I just can't do nothing stupid.
I'm glad you can make it, sir, man. No, what you been playing this week besides battling the tooth issues?
Nothing. I actually started watching the Jessica Jones season 2 yesterday.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I gotta catch up, man. I still ain't finished Punisher. I gotta catch up. No, game wise, you having anything specific? Nothing?
Not really. I've been sleeping for the most part.
I hear you, man.
I've been playing PUBG.
Okay, there we go. Lord Sav, what have you been playing this week?
Like I said on yesterday's podcast, like I've been playing a lot, trying to finish that Mad Max. So what I realized about the Mad Max is that I spent so much time just like getting everything on the map, clearing out the map, that I totally forgot about the story element. So I've done very little story. So when I'm at the end, I'm thinking I'm at the end of the game. Like I'm only in like the 3rd act story wise. So I still have a bunch of stuff to do, but the map is clean though. They allowed me to clean the map out before that. So I'm still grinding away at that. On the Switch, I picked up Gorogoa. which is a puzzle game, like a tile-based puzzle game, which is really cool. It's like it's perspective based. Basically, like there are 3 panels that they give you, like with different like paintings and whatnot. And the thing about it is you have to figure out how they interact with each other, and they'll create and they kind of give you hints as to how you move forward. So it becomes like something that animates after a while, but you have to figure out how the panels interact with each other. Pretty cool game. Like, and I got it basically for free with my gold points. So
gotcha.
I got, and that's pretty much it. Just still grinding away slowly but surely at Celeste on the Twitch.
Oh, God bless your soul. Celeste, that game.
We gonna talk about that direct or what?
We're gonna talk about it.
Let's get with the Lords of playing. Lord King, what you playing this week?
9 Parchments, PUBG.
Wow, you picked it up?
No. I was checking out the trial. I'm gonna pick it up.
Okay.
I actually like it. I'm gonna pick it up. I played a little bit of Rainbow Six Siege with Sinister.
Nice. How you enjoy the zombies? Not too enthused.
No, you know why? Because the way the game was structured, it was never structured for that type of format. So for them to push it into that format, it seems like a chore because the way the enemies, they're bullet sponges. They have to work on that when it comes to that because it's overly aggressively hard for absolutely no reason. But they have to work on that part of it. And it fixed. It's a good idea. It's good in premise. I think if we have a team of 4, it actually would go a whole lot better. It was just me and Sinister playing it.
Gotcha.
Then playing Super Lucky still, having such a great go with this. The what is it? The Mario Galaxy 1 Conqueror.
Oh my God! Shout out to Brat Podcast last night, Lord. Lord King put out that controversial statement.
It's not controversial. It's just my opinion. My opinion of it is Super Lucky Tail is a better game than Mario Galaxy 1. That's it. Just simple. And of course, like I said, the PUBG love. That's it.
No doubt. Yeah, man. For me, it's just been I realized this week how much addicted I am to XCOM. Like, I have a problem. like XCOM is really, I'm addicted to it. Like it's one of my top franchises. And since the Xbox One X came out with that 4K update for the for War of the Chosen specifically, because it only applies to that DLC. It is so addicting, man. It's very difficult. I was talking to Lord Piscatella earlier before we started, and it's really unforgiving. Like it's really for the hardcore XCOM guy. And I had to take some strategies that Addict used to tell me about. You kind of focus on your weapons, focus on your armor, your squad size early, that kind of stuff. But now I'm starting to make a lot of progress. And this whole little Chosen dynamic is really cool. They have these specific alien factions, and they're really tough. But there's also these other factions that you align yourself with on Earth that can kind of counter each one. And it's a lot of base building. It's deep, man. I'm loving it.
Lie. Yesterday, I was going in and someone on the I'm barely getting by this because everyone's hurt. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm like, there's only like maybe 3 or 4 people left. I've inched my way through the map. The assassin pops up. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, they're coming at the end of the mission. You're like depleted, and you're like, oh no. Like they come in they're actually worse than the Alien Rulers DLC from the standard base game. Like it's mostly like a hardcore XCOM guys, like a love letter to those guys, but really enjoying. Shout out to Def Sing in the chat. No, I don't do 1v1s, man. I don't play the multiplayer. I'm all solo player, but that's pretty much what I've been playing. So we're gonna get into last week's poll. So the results are in, and the people have spoken to the question. With the 1-year anniversary of the Switch now upon us, what do we feel is the most important thing for its continued success in year 2? The winner at 34% in a razor close 4-way ILP poll was the Party Chat Messaging and Trophies Better Online Infrastructure Group. So they won the poll, coming in at second place. This is probably the closest ever. It's 1% difference. At 33% was the Continue to Deliver Huge IPs like Smash and Pokemon group. Third place at 27% was the Bring Back Virtual Console group. And our shallow fourth place group at only 6% was Nintendo Labo FTW group. So let's go with the Lord. What do the Lords think about this? Anybody?
I mean, what can you say about it? I mean, I think it goes to show like who's talking about this sort of stuff. When you're talking about like the hardcore guys just want more Nintendo properties, right, on the console, and they're gonna deliver on that, right? But as you move forward, a lot of these properties are gonna have a lot of online aspects to them that you want to function properly. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense that those two categories are so close together, because it's kind of a toss up. Like, Nintendo's gonna give you the properties at some point, right? However long they take to come out, you're gonna see all of their major stuff on the Switch. So yeah, the underlying stuff is what you want to function properly. So we'll see. Lord
Piscatella, what do you feel? What's your want for the Switch now coming into year 2? Would you prefer the online infrastructure first, Virtual Console, or the bigger IPs like the Smashes and stuff?
So slightly different take. Right now, the Switch is very much a core gamer box. These are devices that have been purchased by folks that already have one of the other big consoles for the most part. These are core gamers that are in the system. I think what's most important for the Switch in this year and beyond is getting past that core gamer group, getting into the mass market, getting mom to pick it up for a little Johnny or little Jane that doesn't have a system yet. So it's about focusing on the family, the kids, and widening that circle, and things like Labo or whatever you want to call it, Labo. We'll do that, but then also like getting the games like Kirby and then ultimately Pokemon RPG, which is going to do everything.
Yeah, that's going to change the game.
That's my take.
Okay, all right. But you personally, Matt, do you want? If it was up to you, would you want just the big titles or ahead of the online infrastructure? You personally?
So I'm most interested to see what they do with their online service, how it incorporates Smash, how well they can evolve in the modern video game environment now that they have a really hit system on their hands. How do they maintain the momentum? And I think they do that through a number of ways. But yeah, personally, I want to see that online service be fantastic value for the money. So we'll see.
Absolutely, I'm with you. All right, so we're gonna start off these topics, but we're gonna debut a little segment since we got Lord Piscatella in the house, in the round. We had want to do a little question segment because we gotta get some things answered, and as gamers, you come in contact with things that we're very curious about. We love what you do in your industry, so I'm gonna set off the first question, and we'll pass it around to the Lords for more questions for you. So the first one is gonna be like over obviously the past years in the United States, like NPD has become like an extreme point of contention for like hardcore gamers, fanboys alike. My question to you, Lord Piscatella, is like, did you ever think that NPD would kind of evolve, or I don't want to say like devolve into something fanboys would become so passionate about, like after the 15th of every month?
Well, I get it. I mean, like people, especially gamers, are competitive by nature. Everyone wants their system of choice to succeed because then they think they'll get the better games. They think they'll get the better services. Like, I get it. I think there's just a misconception of how these companies look at these sales figures. So, for example, I've been around, like I said, a bunch of retailers and a bunch of publishers recently, and everyone's talking about engagement. They're not talking sales. They're talking about how do we keep people playing on our platform? What do those play metrics look like? Like, I'm giving sales figures, and people are like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, but how many hours? How many hours are we getting? Right. So, it's a weird thing. So, I think the fans or the people online take this stuff far more seriously than a lot of people in the industry do. And I think part of that problem is because a lot of the stuff that is put out is pretty secretive. Like, I can't divulge things like installed bases or shares or attach rates or anything like that. And that's a bummer, right? Because if we were able to fill in those blanks, then the arguments wouldn't happen, and people would just be able to focus on the things that matter, which is the games.
Good point.
So I try to do my best in order to help. Like, I know what people want to know, and I try to do my best in letting them know the results of what they want to know without divulging things I can't. because I want the conversation to be positive and encouraging, and like people should be excited about the games coming. And seriously, like the PS4, Xbox One thing, which is just so obnoxious online and with the fan base, like both systems are doing very well. One system's doing better globally, absolutely, but it doesn't mean that games aren't going to come to one system or the other, or that one system's going away. Like both of these ecosystems are very healthy and strong, and it's going to be just fine. So stop it, relax, man. Go play some games, man.
Talk, Lord. That's what I'm talking about. Lord Addict, do you have any question for Lord Piscatella? Now we got the NPD Lord in here. Any specific question? Oh, his tooth is out.
It's my bad. I do have a question.
Sure.
Since you're like, part of the NPD crowd, have you ever seen something sell way more than it did and you were surprised, just generally surprised?
Yeah, all the time. Monster Hunter World most recently was
huge.
I went back and checked that number 3 times. I'm like, are we sure we're not double counting somewhere? Dragon Ball FighterZ, I did the same thing because it was the best-selling game since Budokai 2 in 2002 or 2003. So, I mean, it happens a lot. Switch. I was very bullish on the Switch when it came out, but it blew away my expectations. So, like, it happens quite a bit. And on the other hand, there's quite a bit of times where a game comes out and you're like, wait a minute, that's all it sold? That can't be right. We're missing something. So, yeah, it happens all the time. The thing about this industry and forecasting this industry is that you're going to be wrong, and that whatever forecast you have is based on a set of assumptions that will break the minute something launches. Like, we're not movies, right? We don't have box office to guide us. We don't have, like, audience feedback. Like, when a game launches, it's basically we have an idea what a game is, but you never really know until it's in the hands of players. And not only, like, some YouTuber could say something dumb, and all of a sudden your game tanks. Or, on the other hand, some influencer could do something big, and all of a sudden your game's huge. And
yeah, good point.
So, happens all the time. It's a hard business to try to track.
So I don't know if you're willing to like comment on this, but what's your predictions for Sea of Thieves?
So Sea of Thieves is I'm optimistic on it, but because it's part, I think it's fantastic that it's part of the Game Pass. I think it's actually going to improve the player count. It's going to lead to more sales because the people playing it as part of Game Pass are going to tell their friends and bring them in, which I think is the whole point. So I've been very encouraged by what I've been reading and hearing about beta performance, and I think we're going to see more of this type of thing where, like I said, it's all about engagement. It's all about users. Sales are secondary in a big case now. And so how do you get the most people playing the game, which the assumption is then that you'll make more money either via other people coming in to buy it or via, whatever in-game stuff you might have in there. But I'm optimistic.
When it comes to Game Pass, let's be real here. They don't even have to subscribe to Sea of Thieves. Like they could go to a whole other game and pretty much funding every game in Game Pass.
Yeah, we're going to get the Game Pass too. That's another question. I want to get Lord Solve up. Solve, what you got?
Yeah, so to piggyback off of what Matt said with the engagement, right? It seems that Microsoft is the only company who's really outwardly talking about engagement as that is their main goal. They're not worried so much about like the sales numbers and whatnot, but they want to make sure that they keep you in that ecosystem. So do you think, especially now with Microsoft, with this pricing model that they have now, with the announced with State of Decay and the $30 price point and the $50 price point, in addition to Game Pass, do you think this sort of focus on engagement as something that, as kind of something like a term that the consumers are using as well, is that something that you think that Nintendo and PlayStation need to start doing in terms of, instead of focusing on actual sales? Is it something that they need to start including in their vernacular?
So you mentioned that Microsoft are the folks out there doing it publicly. Everyone's doing it, just not publicly. So this is the focus of everybody is player engagement. So do they need to do it publicly? No, I mean, I think a lot of companies are talking to the investor community, and sales still speaks to that crowd. They'll get it eventually, that the engagement is what drives the sales, and they'll get there. But for now, like most folks are talking to the investment community, and so you'll continue to see the focus on sales. But the actual how do we make games, how do we make systems, the focus is on engagement.
Okay, cool. Lord King, any questions for the Lord of NPD in the building?
Have you ever caught anybody cheating numbers? I know you couldn't answer that question, so it's not even. It's like that question is not even valid. You couldn't even answer the question if you wanted to answer the question. You could?
Lord Piscatella's going in. Let's go.
Yeah. So our agreement, like, so a publisher or a game maker can announce any number they want. If they own that number, like if it's their number, they can say whatever they want. If they say a number that's incorrect, we have every right to come out and say that they were wrong or that they were.
Now, let me double down on Lord King's question. Have you ever specifically encountered that and come across where it was incorrect numbers reported and you guys had to send it back to a specific? You don't have to call anybody out, but have you encountered it?
No, so folks can get really creative in how they talk about the numbers, and they can use metrics.
I like how he said that, really creative.
I love that.
But what we do is we go in and, like, if there's a statement out there, I will look at it and make sure that it was accurate. And even though it might be worded in such a way to be trying to sway one's opinion in a certain direction, if it's factually correct, then it's factually correct. And I haven't run into a situation where someone has intentionally mucked up a number or said something wrong. They can say things in creative ways, but not incorrect.
A lot of creative language around.
Lord King, you win for the question of the night.
Listen, it was just, thought on my head because, we're seeing these numbers and we're seeing these astronomical numbers of these mythical PlayStation 4 numbers.
Oh, my God.
And, yeah, these are, come on, Matt. These are unheard of numbers in this young of a generation of a system, right? 70 million so fast is astonishing. And I truly believe that the engagement is probably of the casual because the games aren't selling to the number that you would think that if it's a 70 million base. I would think at least, let's say 2% of the populace will purchase one game and it would translate into game sales, but you're not seeing like 2% purchasing like one single game, except for that Zero Horizon Dawn, which they said did 7 million. So you said 1% purchased that. So
okay. So pretty much you just wanted to double down on that. You just wanted to clarify.
No, I just wanted to ask him, and if he would have yelled out, Sony's lying, I would have been like, thank you.
Oh my God! Let's get to the elephant in the room. One of the reasons why we wanted you on the show is because we started this little segment where we have two lords of us that we call the Illuminati Lords, who sometimes struggle to. We know the success of Sony has been extremely positive this generation, but also we know as far as the install base, what is it looking like? 70 million right now?
80.
Maybe even 80, right? So the question comes down just to help us understand, like, as far as the percentage, like, for example, like Horizon Zero Dawn that showed 7.6 million, right? The percentage in comparison to the whole, is that really healthy? Is that not really reflective when, less than half own a specific title? Like, what's that definition of like a truly successful title in that kind of an ecosystem when the system sells that well?
Oh, that's a really great question. So really like a 10% attach, right? Which the Horizon Zero Dawn number kind of translates to ballpark is phenomenal. You don't see that kind of attach outside of maybe like the Call of Duties or the Rockstar games of the world, right? So if you are in mid single digit attach rates, you're doing fantastic at this point in the cycle. Very early on, like year one of the cycle, you'll see occasionally the 100% Zelda attach rate that was out.
Oh, that's crazy.
Or the 75% Call of Duty 2 attach rate at launch of 360. Like, they're very big, rare outliers. But for the most part, if you're in year 7?
Six.
6 or 7, whatever. When you're this late in the cycle, if you're getting 4%, you're doing very well. You just have such a wide array of content available, and people are using these things in very different ways. Like, you have your person that goes out and they buy Madden and Call of Duty every year, and then you have your guy that just plays FIFA. and then you have like your cat who's just using it as a Blu-ray player or something like. So, but yeah, there's like a 10% double-digit attach rate at this point in the cycle is really good.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that clarification. That was actually one question we want to know. Now, a question I have for you, another thing that we see out here in these gaming streets is Game Pass, right? And I know Losov kind of touched on it a little bit, but just kind of like I wanted to get deeper, like as far as like the financial, like revenue ramifications from Microsoft, because like there's this perception right now that Microsoft is giving away their AAA first party titles for free, right? So ultimately, how does that, I know we talked about engagement, but like how does that benefit them? Is there any type of a short-term loss initially, or this is just constant, revenue stream, that ultimately still is better than, by putting it in this Game Pass system that they have?
Right. So you have you also have EA Access out there that kind of led the way in this type of initiative. I don't know the specifics of how the financials work on how they allocate revenue across titles that participate or how they're amortizing costs or anything like that. But the idea is the more you have people in the ecosystem, the more time they're spending, the more they'll spend either on other games or on downloadable content or microtransactions. So that's the bet, right? I would not look at it as they're giving things away for free because no one does that. But what we've seen and what the data suggests is that titles that show up in these subscription-based programs, whether it's PS Plus, Xbox Gold, EA Access, that when these games hit those services, sales of those exact games actually increase above baseline for a period of time following that occurrence, because what that does is they get those games back in. People are back playing them. They're showing up on friends lists, activity feeds. People are talking about the games again. At some point, you'd have to imagine that the number of games in a service like that could dampen that impact or that effect, that halo effect. Not Master Chief Halo, but Halo as though like a wide sphere of influence. But we haven't seen it yet. So I think that's the bet. The bet is like, hey, the more people are playing our game, the more people are going to buy our game, even if the initial folks playing it are getting it via subscription service.
Awesome. Let me just follow up with a quick question. Kid Smooth, in reference to that same topic. Will downloads from Game Pass count in NPDs? That was his question. Do you think?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't believe so. We track subscription spending outside. We still track our subscription spending as part of total overall spending, but we don't track it as part of the individual game performance. Kind of like a hardware bundle where you like if you buy a PS4 and it has Call of Duty in it, that game sale isn't counted. It's counted as part of the hardware.
That's part of the hardware. Oh, okay, gotcha. That's a great. Okay, thank you for that question, Lord Smooth. I'm sorry.
That is a very good question.
Very good question, Lord Attic. I cut you off. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
That was like another thing people don't realize on the Game Pass is stuff like Halo Wars 2's on there, and they probably got $50, $60 worth of expansions that people's going to pick up because of it of Game Pass.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if a game like hasn't been selling that much or whatever, like anything you get over your baseline demand's good, right? So you have Game Pass or you have some other subscription service. You have a couple games out there that bring people in the door, but then they play other things, and overall, the ocean rises and the pie gets bigger, and I think that's the philosophy behind it.
Absolutely. Any other questions the Lords have for Lord Piscatella? Anything else?
So with the pie getting bigger, like back to like the how Nintendo and Sony sort of react to that, because Nintendo, I think Matt made a comment a few days back about how physical sales are going to continue to grow, especially on the Nintendo side. So does Microsoft's kind of not necessarily focus, but this with their services being like digital based, do you see the other two kind of following that route at some point? Because I think a lot of people, including myself, like I've gone primarily digital everywhere, right? So the fear is that like Microsoft sort of has a roadmap for what they want to do with Game Pass and just the Microsoft ecosystem in general. And PlayStation hasn't necessarily clarified what they plan to do with that. Neither has Nintendo. So it's like, do you have kind of any comments on what they might be thinking and doing in the future? Anything that might indicate that they might be looking at that sort of structure as well?
Right. So you have short term and long term. Short term, maybe midterm. So call it the next 5 years, right?
Mhm.
I think what's happened is each manufacturer has developed a very specific approach to their product and their customer base. They're differentiated. So what Microsoft's doing is different than what Sony's doing, which is different than what Nintendo is doing. And I think that overall has led to an increase in overall sales because you're no longer having substitute products battle up against each other, right? Back in the day, if you bought a PS2 or an Xbox, it didn't really matter which one you bought other than the exclusive games that were involved. Now, like the ecosystem and how it's structured is very different. So I think like Sony and Microsoft still compete fairly directly, but not as directly as they used to. And then Nintendo's on a whole different planet. Like things that happen to Nintendo have no impact at all on PS4 X1. Things that happen on PS4 X1 have no impact at all on Nintendo. So for the short term, I think everyone, they've all found a sweet spot with their customer. I think they hold on to that sweet spot. But 5+ years out, say we're 2022, 2023, as long as net neutrality doesn't get disintegrated and people aren't spending $200 for their internet connection and have data caps, like in a world with 100 gigabyte games on next gen systems, that's going to have a big impact on it. What net neutrality looks like, but ultimately, I think if that works okay, the profitability on digital is so much better that you're going to see everyone lean that way.
Gotcha. Now with that digital, just to follow up with your point on digital games, now with the rise of like digital media, kind of like accounting for more of the percentages in the sales and stuff, like has that been harder like to track, harder to implement? I know especially with Nintendo not really reporting digital sales still, to my belief. Like how much, do you think that piece of the pie is missing, and do you think it will ever be kind of fully implemented so we can get a true, idea of what the digital sales health of is in gaming?
Yeah, it's been difficult, no question. So we have something called the Digital Leader Panel. We have a group of publishers that do provide their digital data on Steam, Xbox, and PSN. It's basically all the big ones with the exception of Bethesda and Nintendo. We continue to try to work.
Wow, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Sony, Microsoft, Activision, EA, Namco, down the list, Capcom. So we have a really good chunk of digital data providers. We can't speak publicly on breakouts of that kind of thing, but we do track them in the overall spend. But we're missing DLC, we're missing MTX that we sell. We have a pilot program going on those, so hopefully within the next couple of years we can get that going. And we're still missing the really big pie, which is those PC games, the free-to-play PC market. So things like Battle.net, Origin, Uplay, League of Legends, like we're missing that spend too. So it's a challenge. I think the challenge is that gaming has become so broad, and there's so many ways to engage with gaming. It's a tough category to get to, and all these companies, especially the big ones like Tencent and all those, are very private with their data, right? So there's a long way to go, but I think we're doing a better job than anybody else out there in estimating this market and tracking what we can track. But it's not easy.
I could imagine. I can imagine. Oh, any other question before I have like just two more from the fans, and I just want to make sure the Lord's.
Yeah, I have one quick question. I don't know if you could really comment on this, but what are the breakdowns from digital sales to physical sales? Are they closer than people think?
Actually, physical is still the primary way people buy video games. I think the misconception out there is that the digital share rate is consistent across titles, and it absolutely is not. Some titles will share at a much higher digital level than other titles. And I think what people get in trouble with, they go, well, X% is digital because one line in one report a year ago said that. And it's not the case. So it's very much a case-by-case basis, and it all depends on how the companies are marketing and promoting their games. So the more a game is promoted on those storefronts with discounts and pre-order bonuses and gold editions, the higher that digital share tends to be. So.
Cool. Another point of contention was I know a lot of the Xbox community and fans. Sometimes the inside joke is, they're selling not a lot of games, but a lot of controllers and accessories. So my question to you is, I know recently, I believe it was last NPD, I think you had made a tweet, and it was just talking about the health of accessories and how well it's doing. I just want to know if you can comment on that. As far as, I mean, obviously we know that there's always a lot of new controllers and new bundles that Microsoft puts out, and just people in general, even the headset industry. I believe it was Turtle Beach that led, last month's NPD. What's your standpoint on the accessories, and in reference to the community saying, why are they doing that when maybe in reality it's actually successful for these companies?
Yeah, so accessories. Okay, this is a really good question too. This is a fantastic question. It gets into some how things are aggregated. So accessories include, we report accessories includes things like game cards, headsets, controllers, cases, power supplies, and things like toys to life. What the accessories market is actually healthier than we've been reporting, because the decline in toys to life has been an offset on gains in other areas. So controllers have actually done very well the last couple of years for both Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo and the third-party guys. So controllers have done very well. Headsets and headphones have done very well. And Switch, things like cases and power supplies have done exceptionally well as well. But those gains are being offset quite a bit by this continued decline of the interactive gaming toys. So fortunately, that decline's about done. There's not much more room to go down at this point. So I think you're going to start seeing a reflection of even better accessory reporting than we have been doing. But fantastic question.
Cool. Now, quick question in reference to that too. Like, where does Lord King's amiibos fall in this?
That's high on that list. Tell him.
So yeah, amiibo is part of that interactive gaming toy bucket. It's the one that does okay. I think they're treating it more like a collectible now than an actual Toys to Life initiative.
Gotcha.
And I think what you're going to see is more focused releases and a higher priority on making sure the price points can stay where they should be.
Who saw that Dark Souls one?
We saw it. Lord King wasn't impressed. He didn't think it did anything to help him with the gameplay, so he's not interested.
Yeah, I'm not buying that thing.
All right, my last question before I give my last, any other questions from the Lords, and I'll give my last question too.
I had a quick question to Lord D, real quick. What happens if you can't beat Dark Souls without that extra noodle on top?
You said what? Sorry, what did you say?
He said about the amiibo. What happens if you can't complete Dark Souls without it? You're not gonna pick it up?
No, I wasn't picking it up anyway because it wasn't giving me no advantage. I don't need the try hard trophy. You can have the try hard trophy. That's yours. And I'll take the casual trophy, because if it actually gave me a little ghost knight that would run next to me and would stab people, or gave me a spear that I could actually one-hit kill, yeah, I'm that guy. God. So, and then we will both get the same ending, and you can have the mythical pound-for-pound title that you hold around, walk around, but I don't care about. And I can walk around with the same ending that you got.
So basically, you're happy with the amiibos like in Zelda Breath of the Wild.
That's right. The real amiibos.
Daily food every day.
Those are the real amiibos before these guys started crying.
Cheat codes and statues.
That's right. We all used to look out forward to cheat codes. So I come from an era where we all went out and got a cheat code device, Game Genie, and stuff like that to get God mode and stuff like that. You come from I'm gonna squeeze my knuckles until it works, and I came from just $60 brought me Game Genie, and we was handing out codes, and we were doing wild things to games. That's where I come from. Sorry.
Even before then, I got in trouble so many times because I used to call Sega customer service for them to send me. They used to send me maps and facts and stuff like that.
See?
But the phone call was expensive. So yeah, I remember getting reprimanded for that.
Yeah, so don't make it seem like, I need an amiibo. No, I want an amiibo. I want that amiibo to do special things. $60 or $15 or whatever I'm gonna pay. I want it to do something special.
Just so I clarify real quick, you are playing Dark Souls.
No, I'm not.
See, there it is.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah, quick question from the chat. We have Enrique from the Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, our guy. He had a quick question for Matt. He said, do you think Microsoft and Sony will release new hardware in 2020?
Probably.
Yeah, Enrique is cool peeps. Hey, Enrique. So my forecast currently has 2020 being the year for PS5 and whatever it is Microsoft does next. I don't think, looking at the sales data, I don't see any reason to do it earlier, although I've been surprised in the past. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I have 2020 is my assumption.
Okay, cool. All right, and then my final question in reference to the question segment, as we now had the Lord of NPD. In reference, basically, there was another analyst, I believe, in your field that he made some prediction, and he said that he feels that Nintendo will eventually surpass Microsoft's console market share in 2018. And obviously, I don't want to say that comparison is 100% fair. Obviously, Nintendo has the Switch, the 3DS. A lot of limited time products like, the NES Classic, Super NES Classic, well as Microsoft just has per se like the Xbox One. But we do know, the Switch is what the Switch is. And as far as 2018 coming in, and, what do you feel in reference to these analytics and these guys saying that in 2018 that Nintendo could surpass Microsoft in that respect?
I don't know. There's so many definitions of share. It's kind of hard to talk to. I don't know. I haven't even looked. I don't generally look at share.
Gotcha.
And I'm not trying to be evasive of the question. I just don't know if share matters. Like, I know it matters to people. I know that it matters to executives. I know like people are interested in the number. But in terms of like, what is the ultimate health of the industry? How are things selling? What's going to move? What's not going to move? Share is the result of all those things and not a driver of those things, if you know what I mean. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm trying to evade the question. I'm not. I have no idea where the share structure is right now, or even like the kind of share they were talking about.
Not fair enough, and except we even appreciate you even going into that and answering that. Much appreciated.
In regards to that question, did they specifically say just Nintendo as a whole? Because I know you mentioned other products, or did they say Switch specifically? No,
they're saying they said Nintendo as a whole. They're saying they're saying Nintendo will surpass Microsoft as a whole. So that's where they're going now. Apparently this guy Market, he predicted they should shoulder Microsoft out of the number 2 position this year. You know what I'm saying? So again, but I understand Lord Piscatella's point in reference to the terminology and share and what really, like that means, that kind of thing. So I can understand where he's coming from in that respect.
I think Switch wins out in sales this year, I would say. I would say just in overall sales of consoles, I think they probably sell the most consoles this year. Where that puts them, in the overall, picture, I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, they're really. I think this year they're gonna run slipshod this year.
They're gonna.
I'm sorry.
I have them as. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have them as the top console seller too, and the top driver of physical software. Digital software, not so much. But yeah, I agree with that. Sorry to cut you off.
No worries. Cool. So I appreciate all those answering those questions for us. A lot of gamers, always every month we always have these discussions, these debates, and it's always good to get some clarity. So I appreciate you with that. Now we got some. We're gonna get in these topics, and it's just gonna be a couple of topics. But we actually have some hot off the presses at the round table. A raven was sent from the other lords. So it looks like just actually, I don't know if it was yesterday or a few days ago, one of BioWare's most prominent writers, Drew, I can't pronounce this guy's name, I'm gonna say Carpetian. He was actually the lead writer on Mass Effect 2. So it's just been reported that he's left BioWare, and he was the one writing he left the studio. He was the lead writer for Anthem. So looks like Casey Hudson. Yeah, the reason why why I'm bringing this
Days of Destiny. Oh God.
I'm bringing this up, Lord King, because again, just want to clarify. Casey Hudson. Actually the GM, who huge fan of Casey Hudson. From Mass Effect 1. He actually came out in a statement and responded to a Twitter fan. He basically just said, look, that Carpetian had finished his work at Anthem. He's saying his work was already completed, and then he left. And then they did speak to, Carpetian again. And apparently it's not the first time he's left before. Like he was probably his best known for his being the lead writer for Mass Effect 1 and 2. And then between the periods of Mass Effect 2 and 3, Then he left and he kind of went into do novels and his own kind of graphic novel kind of thing. But yeah, he put it on his personal site and left again. So I want to bring this to the Lords. Like, what do we feel about this? Is this shades of Destiny 2? Are we overblowing this? But this is hot off the presses. The Raven just came through and dropped the note off in the realm. What do the Lords feel?
It's very valid. It makes you get queasy in the stomach, especially we keep associating Anthem with Destiny. So now it's probably living up to the whole Destiny moniker that it has set forth. Because what did we lose? Did we lose the writers before on Destiny, and they had to do some real condensed version? And they said that we were going to get so much more content this time and so much story. I'm just like, I hope it's not that. I hope he did finish his job and he didn't rage quit. I hope. But we can only time will tell.
Lord Addict, I'm curious about your perspective as Destiny guys initially. What do you feel about this when you heard this news or just heard it?
I guess it's good on if it went exactly the way they said he finished his project. Bungie better be hoping that it didn't go that way.
You're right. You're absolutely right. With the state that Destiny 2 is in right now, they need a few wins.
A few. Okay, we'll go with that.
Absolutely. Lord Piscatella, what's your feeling on this? And or were you interested in Anthem in any capacity?
Oh, absolutely. Video game projects these days are hundreds of people who are dedicated to the project. One person coming or going while having an impact at the leadership level doesn't necessarily mean a game turns out better or worse. So I have no idea. Like, there's so many people involved and so many people have their passion into the game that, these things happen. I don't know.
No, I hear you. I hear it's good. Lord,
I'm sure they happen a lot more than it looks like.
Yeah.
Lord, most game makers don't have a name like that,
Yeah.
Fair enough. Lord Soft, your feeling on this hot off the presses?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Matt on this. I don't know what to think about it. I think the fact that they got out in front of it means that they know the type of impact that something like this can have on the community and speculation. So it's going to be a matter of just seeing what else happens around the game. If we get more delays, if we keep going, PAXs, E3s, whatnot, without seeing a substantial chunk of this game and seeing what the game is, then maybe we worry about what's happening with it. As of right now, it's one person. It's significant because he sort of drives the narrative of what, the story. So, so it's big, but at the same time, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna wait and see. And honestly, if more bad stuff starts to happen around it, then maybe you worry.
Right. Well, I know. I mean, I'll finish the talk off. I know. Wasn't it Jason Schreier had put something out recently, and he was just basically going off onto the constraints that they were under, and obviously we know that. As far as BioWare as a studio, but we know that Mass Effect Andromeda didn't really hit as it should, and there's some changes there. So we do know, regardless to the speculation, we do know that there is a lot of pressure on this title. This is a very highly anticipated title. They have a lot of stock in this title. Like Matt, Lord Piscatella said, who knows? I mean, this could be something that he could have been done already, and then he's just moving on. But again, to Lord King's point, as Destiny fans, we've heard kind of like this kind of rhetoric before. Not saying that this is the case with BioWare, but it just makes you raise your eyebrow. You just hope everything's okay. You hope the game comes out. There's a lot riding behind it, and let's see what happens, man. Whenever I hear lead writers before a game release, it just reminds me of Destiny. So I thought it was quite interesting, when this came out. But we're gonna move into these topics. Lord Sov. Nintendo had a direct this week. What's going on, man?
Yes, they did. They dropped it under everybody's noses. I mean, it was just one of those things where there was no speculation about this one, so it was kind of a surprise. And yeah, I mean, listen, if you've been someone who's been critical of Nintendo for porting everything under the sun to the Switch, this is probably not the direct for you. That narrative, that narrative hasn't changed that much. In terms of me, though, I'm happy. Give it all to me. So let's start off with the 3DS stuff. 3DS very quickly.
Must we? No, I'm just joking.
I'll mention it quickly. If only.
I'm a
if
hater.
only
I'm a
because,
switch holder. I'm a hater. I know. Continue.
I mean, the tail of the 3DS you can't deny it. Like sales tail of this game, it's so successful. I can't be mad at them for continuing to release games for it. At the same time, you see that their segment is getting smaller and smaller, so it is getting near the end of its life cycle. How close that is, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mentioned it specifically because there are games coming to the 3DS now that I still wish they were coming to the Switch as well. So you have a compilation of WarioWare games, and I think some new stuff in there as well. That's coming to 3DS. So that's something I think that would do extremely well on the Switch, and I wish it was coming here. A game called Dillion's Dead Heat Breakers, which is sort of like strategy mixed with action. It was announced in Japan.
It looks good.
Yeah, it was initially announced for Japan, and we're getting it now on the 3DS. Mm-hmm. And then you're getting Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. Is coming back, and I guess this time it has Bowser Jr. in it as well. So another game that I think would love to come to the Switch. And then the last two things were Detective Pikachu's finally coming to the West. So we're gonna get old man Pikachu. That game looks weird. That game looks so weird. But it's coming with new amiibo, of course. They can't drop it.
Yeah,
Lord King,
he's a big amiibo too. He's a big one. He's a big one.
The ears perked up when I said amiibo, just like Pikachu.
He's a big one. He's a big one. He's a nice size amiibo too. He's a big one.
And then finally, we're getting Luigi's Mansion, a remake from the GameCube game. And I'm like, why are we not getting this on the Switch?
Exactly.
You will get it after they milk this crowd. Come on, stop it.
You're right, kid. You guys are right.
I think they're at the point though they could just release them for both day and date, and they'd be fine.
All I know is PlayStation and Xbox better hope they never get rid of that, because that's where you think their games are going, on the Switch.
we know the indie health is really doing well. When they put these titles out on Switch in comparison to
imagine if the next Pokemon announced that it wasn't coming on the 3DS and it was only on the Switch.
God.
Like, you're gonna force a lot of 3DS owners to go out and buy a Switch.
Or rage quit. They're gonna stand outside with their tiki torches, and that game will be announced for the 3DS. So it's way more 3DSs out there than Switches. So don't let those tiki torches come out.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask Lord Piscatella this in reference to that, being that I'm seeing this in the chat now that we're talking about it. The health of the 3DS, because it's still, I guess, doing so well, is that part of a factor as to why Nintendo's like, we're not going to completely abandon it? It's still, a lot of revenue there. Most gamers want them, like myself, selfishly. I'm a Switch owner, so I do want them to move on. But from a business standpoint, I do understand if it's really doing well, it's kind of hard to just abandon it. Like, what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, so sales the last few years been very consistent. Generally, you see this late in the cycle, sales really kind of tail off down to nothing. But thanks to their release schedule and just how basically that, and because they've started to emphasize the 2DS instead of the 3DS and lower the price point, like, sales been very consistent. It's almost weird how, like, basically every year it's the same number. So, I mean, as long as people are engaging in, what they're trying to do is, right now, they're trying to provide mom something to hand to the kid that's not the cell phone. Like, so a $79 3DS or $89 3DS or 2DS that has Pokemon on it and a couple other games, fantastic. All you need. Like, the target market is very different. The target market's definitely kids, whereas the Switch is definitely adults. So, like, I get from a gamer perspective, you want everything on Switch, but there are pretty good reasons to keep these things going. And I forgot who said it, but someone just said a minute ago, yeah, they can bring it out to Switch later. Yeah. They can sell it now. They can sell it to you again.
The masters are doing that.
The masters of the double dip.
I wonder how many people picked up Super Smash Brothers for the 3DS and the Wii U.
Yep. and it's sold. I mean, you got to look at it, man. That market is not a market that you abandon. You know, my son plays his 3DS really hard. He just went to the store, to GameStop, the other day for his sister's birthday.
Switch.
And he got all his little, 3DS games. So he really plays it, and he has every console. So and he really favors the
Actually, Lord King, you're making a good point because go ahead, Lord Attic. I'll let you finish, and then I'll finish and follow up with you.
I'm okay with the 3DS being around, but I feel like if it wasn't for the Switch being so popular and for the Switch, having that portability, like I feel like they'd be making the same mistakes because it does look like sometimes they, a lot of the times they favor the 3D. Like, who would not want a Luigi's Mansion remake for the Switch? Like, why isn't that on the Switch? That makes no sense.
Same thing with Metroid. When Metroid came out, like Matt said, like the demographic for the 3DS at this point should be fairly younger. So why not give the more adult game, Metroid, to the people on the Switch?
But to Lord King's point, which is kind of doubling down on what, in conjunction with what Lord Piscatella is saying, is that it's like Lord King is like, look, the Switch is his adult system, right? He's not giving it to his, his son. He's not giving it to he's giving him a 3DS. So basically, it falls in line with what Matt Piscatella is saying, is that that's how they're viewing it, and that market is still strong. It's like you won't damage the hot new Ferrari. You get this.
There's always going to be children, and as long as they are children, Nintendo will thrive like no other. And that portability, you go to the doctor's office and you give him the 2DS and he playing it. I'm sorry, they can't get rid of that thing. It's winning right now. Like he said, it's consistent every year because it's children being born every year.
Absolutely. Yeah, all right. Cool. Go ahead, Lord Saab. What else did Nintendo have for us?
So now we jump into the Switch stuff. And yeah, we were seeing a lot of ports, but the stuff that we said that we wanted to see, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is finally coming to both 3DS and the Switch after being on the Wii U. So that's fantastic because I never played it on Wii U, so I'd love to have it on the Switch.
Absolutely.
In terms of more ports, they gave a date for Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Again, Dynasty Warriors isn't my thing per se, but hey, it's good to see it on the Switch. In terms of third-party stuff, so we have South Park: The Fractured But Whole finally coming. We talked about this last night. How it was. I hope they announce like a package deal with that and the Stick of Truth, because it only makes sense that they package both games together.
I've been told that they're both coming out.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense that it would.
That's a huge get, y'all. We can't move over. That's a huge get for them.
I'm gonna have to be real. Like, I've definitely been on the neutral side of Nintendo, where they could go or they could come. It doesn't really matter to me. But that direct, like, I was like, okay, I can, okay, all right.
I was like, wow, I was actually impressed.
Really, I'm surprised because it was just a lot of ports. It's a lot of ports.
Because it showed me the thing that I have the biggest issue is, are they committing to third party? And if they're having South Park, they're committing.
Okay, that's good. That's good to see.
It's third party committing to them. That's the whole thing. Is I always felt that it wasn't Nintendo, telling people no. It was the other people telling Nintendo no with the Wii U. And right now they're riding such a high that these guys got to get down or lay down. It's just very simple. The numbers are showing that they're selling, and why not have your game there so it can sell? Just do it a very decent port. Don't do WWE. That's all.
Yeah, there you go. So then we have Little Nightmares coming as well, a game that came out on PS4 initially and PC, I think, and then Xbox, and now it's coming to Switch. We have the Travis Strikes Again. They showed a little more footage of that, which is anybody who's a fan of No More Heroes should be interested in this, the weirdness that is Travis Touchdown. And then, I guess they gave more info on Kirby Star Allies, which I downloaded the demo for Kirby Star Allies. It's so beautiful, and it's such a cute and endearing game, but it's just so Kirby and so easy. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I'll get it when it's on sale just to have it on my console. But it is a very pretty game, and definitely speaks to that younger demographic that I think is just gonna eat it up.
Yeah.
So besides that, oh yeah, we have Undertale coming as well. Undertale finally coming too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. It was huge on PC. A lot of people even had it up as their game of the year, the year that it launched. So it's good to get that game on there. And then we have Okami HD, recent HD remake. Oh my god.
With motion controls, I believe too.
Yeah, you have motion controls. You can play it a number of different ways, and you're getting the HD version. I was kind of worried that you'd get maybe if it was coming, we were going to get the older version without the updated graphics and whatnot. So it's good to see that it's coming. For a lot of people, Okami is just as good as some of the best Zelda games. So
Okami's a classic.
To see it on the Switch is fantastic. And
I think I'm gonna have to penalize you for that statement. What did you just say?
For a lot of people think that not all Zelda games, some Zelda games, Okami's up there with it. I didn't say it for myself. Don't jump.
He clarified that earlier.
For real. The one with the wrath of addict on me today.
If I had a button to push and you just jumped out, that would be impressive.
Continue, Los. Let's finish up.
I like Okami. I wouldn't call it a Zelda killer, but I like Okami. Let me see. So beyond that, we have Crash the Bandicoot is coming to Nintendo,
which people never saw coming. Some people.
Some people. I mean, again, it's to me, Activision is going to do what they're going to do, and they saw the success they had with it on the PlayStation, obviously the platform that introduced the world to Crash. So, but I guess it only makes sense that it comes to other consoles. Activision owns the property now. They saw the success it had on the PS4. They want to see that continue. Hopefully, if it, the sales are right on Xbox and the Switch, we're going to see a new Crash game. At some point, which is what Crash fans want. I mean, ultimately, if you're a fan of Crash,
evil King Lad.
We got your baby now.
He's so evil. Continue.
So, I mean, it's good to me. It gives Crash the best chance of coming back in a new iteration. So it's fantastic to see.
Now, for everyone. I love that. The sound of "for everyone" sounds so great.
Off the fanboys. My Lord.
Maybe you should explain to Matt Piscatella.
My God, we won't get into it too deep.
No, it's too long. It's too long. It's too drawn out. Yeah. But here is the Cliff Notes version, Matt. I am so happy that a property that was supposedly exclusive, really wasn't, because it was on an Xbox system before, is now being able to be enjoyed by everyone. I love that part. That's all.
That's all.
I love that part too. Like these games, I don't know, man. Exclusivity, I get the business case for it.
Yeah.
But shoot, man, like these are fun games that people should just have fun playing. So the business kind of gets in the way of that sometimes.
Yeah.
See, Matt feels how I feel.
Continue. So
the final big three announcements. So Splatoon 2 is getting a DLC add-on with the Octolings, and it's a single player, like robust add-on. Splatoon 2, man, like it's big here. It is huge in Japan. Huge in Japan. So the fact that they're continuing to add to this game shows the confidence they have in its property, and the single player stuff I thought was cool. I in Splatoon 2, I liked it. I could have done with more platforming elements. Like I think they needed to incorporate it more to make it feel more like a platformer. With like if you look at like Mario Sunshine or something like that, use that as sort of like a baseline for how to handle like the water physics and stuff like that, and the ink physics. So that's very cool to see. Mario Tennis, they broke down the gameplay of Mario Tennis. They didn't go too much into like the story mode and the campaign and whatnot, but they broke down the gameplay and they added so many different things in terms of like trick shots and like countering trick shots. Like they really broke down, and
they got in depth.
They got in depth with it, and they made the game a lot more robust, and then they also allow you to play it in a less arcadey way with like regular rules, no crazy trick shots. So I'm kind of excited for Mario Tennis. I want to see what the story mode does and how they kind of turn things around on that. And then the big one,
boom,
the big one,
boom.
Everybody knew it was coming, but it didn't keep people from losing their minds when they saw that Smash Brothers was announced for the Switch.
Boom.
With the Octolings in tow, so they're going to be in the Switch version. Yeah, people lost their minds. Everybody knew it was coming. It was just a matter of time. They were not going to release Smash Brothers on the Switch. But I think the speculation now is, what is it? Is it something brand new? Or is it just a souped up Wii U version with the Octolings added?
There's a lot of speculation going on in reference to that, and I know people saw that they saw Breath of the Wild link in the back, and there's a lot of speculation going on. But let's bring it to the table and bring it to Lord Piscatella. What did you feel overall about the Nintendo Direct? Did it excite you? Anything specifically? What was your thought process on it?
Yeah, so okay, let's talk about Smash for a second, because I'm a little confused. I'm still confused. So Smash the Switch has the online service coming later this year, right?
Yes.
They need something to put with that product or with that offering, and of course it was going to be Smash. I thought this was the most of course announcement of the whole Direct. It just seemed the most obvious thing going into it that this would be the takeaway, and yet I see the videos of grown ass men falling to the ground and wiggling. Oh my god! Like
don't you take my glory, Lord Piscatella. Don't you
like they're possessed or something. Like I don't.
I saw reactions for Super Smash Brothers like that though.
Yeah, no, dude, it was. He's correct. I mean, I was retweeting the day it was announced. I mean, people were in the.
I kind of had a huge feeling that was gonna happen. So.
Yeah, like people in the Nintendo New York store, and I guess they would let live announced, and they were going crazy. People were passing out.
Yeah. Like, of course they're going to do that with the Switch Online offering. I think it's a fantastic game to come day one with the online offering. So we'll see how that does. I wanted to touch on one other point 2 points really that were made in the conversation. One on Okami HD. So I bought that game on PS2. I bought it on 360. I think I bought it on PC. I'm going to buy it again for Switch. I might actually play it this time. They'll actually be able to do like the mechanics of the lines and the circles without being frustrated to hell and back. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
He's looking forward to a mechanic actually working.
Yeah, not being terrible. I'm looking forward to that. Awesome. But on the indie development scene, we're talking a little bit about it earlier about how games are doing best on Switch for these indie developers. We're seeing a lot of these games come to the platform. I think we're going to see so many of them that it's going to be a little bit problematic for discovery. I think there's going to be just a whole wave of these games. We're getting 10 a week. I think by the end of this year, we're probably getting 15, 20 a week, and a lot of them being good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the GDC, the Game Developers Conference, which is coming up here in 2 weeks,
yes,
they do a State of the Industry survey every year, and they publish it. You can go check it out online. It's totally free to check out.
I will definitely do.
But it's a number of developers will respond about what they see as the big trends of gaming, and the responses in this year's survey are all about Switch, how excited the indie development scene is for Switch, how optimistic they are on the platform, and so I think you're going to see I think this is what we're seeing right now, these directs, they're pretty fantastic announcement packages, but I think as the year goes on, we're just going to see so much come to the Switch, which is a good thing, which is a great thing, but it's also a bit of a challenge.
Now, you saying a challenge in what way? Kind of from oversaturation, or?
Yeah. When you have so many games coming every week, it's hard to figure out what's good and what's not. And let's be honest, the eShop is not built for discoverability.
Correct.
Correct.
Absolutely correct. I have to give you that. They have to figure out a way to tackle that. You was going to say something, Sovereign, in reference to that?
No, he's right. I mean, it's just not at this point. You would think that when the online service comes on, they've had some sort of overhaul to that. Because it's like Matt says, I know King for a long time was saying there's a lot of shovelware on there, but it's just smaller games. It's smaller games that you don't know about them, but a lot of them. That's why we just myself and Cognito kept just going back to it, because it's but when you're releasing 10 games a week and 6 or 7 of them are good. I mean, that's unprecedented. You don't find that anywhere.
Wait, did you just say 6 to 7 of them are good?
Yeah, oh my God. You're equating a $4.99 price point with bad.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not. Don't put me in that group. I'm cut that out.
There's so many of them. There were a lot of them. Why did you think I'm not just gonna go play shovelware for the sake of playing shovelware? Like I have other games to play. So if I'm on the Switch and I'm looking at these games, what I'm looking at are the games that have primarily been on PC that are coming over that were popular on PC, right? And games that have come over to console as well. That for again, I'm playing mostly AAA stuff on my consoles. I'm not gonna take the time out to play an indie game so much on my console.
In the same way, yeah. I love the indie game on the go on the Switch. I think that's perfect.
I play anything that has a trial available that I can get my little fingers on and touch. And once you got a trial out, and then I say to myself, like 9 parchments, I really wanted to check it out. And then I played it and I said, wow, I'm going to purchase this. Put a trial out, let the king touch, and if the king likes, the king buys. Simple.
Hey, From Software, put a trial out for Dark Souls.
I'm not buying that crap. I already got that gap. This is crap. I don't like it.
I'm King not feeling it.
I think King needs to stream that. I think that would be hilarious.
I'm not doing that. That's your lane. You can do that try hard stuff. I told you I'm in the lane. Give me an all right, you know what? Petition them, get an amiibo that helps me, and that's it.
No, just so I clarify, what kind of amiibo do we need to
I want an amiibo that puts you like a ghost dog or something vicious, something nice. Something worthwhile instead of me just standing up moving my arm.
Like an amiibo that gives them like magic darts where it kills everything.
That's right. I want Vantage. I'm done. I'm here for Vantage.
I'm done. Continue yourself before we move on.
No, I mean that's it. I mean, I get what Matt's saying. Like, you get to a point where there's so much good stuff and there's no way to filter that out. It's tough. And anything on the UI front that's very complicated is gonna make that Switch run kind of. It's gonna start chugging a little bit. So it's something to consider how they handle all that stuff moving forward.
Yeah, the eShop's gonna be big.
They have. So right now the system's 1 year old. There are 48 by my count, 48 games rated 80 or higher on the system. That's never happened before. And as we get more and more games coming to Switch, it's going to become a bigger problem finding these great games. So I don't know. Interested to see how this all works.
Because a lot of people don't believe. How many high rated?
According to OpenCritic, there are 48 games on Switch rated 80 or higher.
So there's good games on this platform, huh? I apologize. I'm sorry.
Somebody gotta like them.
And before we move on, I did have a little knack to pull. How dare you, Dreamcast guy, to put Mario Odyssey over The Legend of Zelda on your top 10 Switch games?
Really? We got to bring Dreamcast guy back on. We'll have to clarify that. He must have been under duress when he said that. Let me just.
Someone secretly had a gun to him when he was making the script.
Both are good games, but I'm a Zelda guy. So all right, we're gonna move on. If anybody else anything else on the direct, and we'll move on to our final topic, and that is the Inside at Xbox. It went down, the big show that Xbox has been teasing. They came out on stage this Saturday. They had a lot to discuss. It was pretty long, actually. It's almost 2 hours. And it looks like the Xbox engineering team, Larry Herb, Major Nelson with those white gloves, showcasing things. But looks like the first things they did announce was from AMD. They talked about the AMD Radeon, the FreeSync display technology. So they're going to be enabling that to work with the Xbox One. They talked about a lot of the UI updates. They had shared a Twitter, stuff to people who are in the alpha ring, like myself, and these people will be I can do it now, but the future update will definitely go out to the rest of the community, so you can do it straight from screenshot to your Twitter, no extra website in the middle as a middleman. They also talked about the auto low latency mode, which I thought was pretty cool. Like almost like with Samsung TVs, they have a game mode. So it's going to recognize if the game is being played that way, automatically switch your TV to a low latency mode. This is great for FPS, first person shooters, stuff like that, when you want to kind of have an advantage. And also when you're doing, switching back between movie, streaming, and so on and so forth. Edge browser got an update. Shared controller on Mixer was announced, and then they definitely doubled down on Sea of Thieves. We know that's a Game Pass game that's coming, so they gave us a lot of background information on that. They deep dived into that, and as well, I even had a music segment, which is pretty interesting. I had a couple of quests and bundles that they talked about, things like that. So, and of course, Game Pass. The last thing I believe they talked about the City Skylines and how that's going to be entering Game Pass. So I just want to get thoughts from the round table, and let's get Lord Piscatella on this, and if he got a chance to catch the Inside at Xbox, and if he did, what was his thoughts and impressions?
So not related. I fell asleep about 20 minutes in.
Totally related.
It wasn't the fault of the show. I've been on the road a lot. I was
my
tired.
man Matt is always tired, man. He works a lot. You got to give him.
I was tired. Cool. Like, I don't know. It was fine.
Okay, so nothing really per se stood out for you per se.
Not for me.
Did you at least catch the white gloves?
Did you catch the white gloves? Did you catch?
I caught him on. I caught him on Twitter later, and the panic about dropping the box. So you got to give them credit for one thing. Like, they are really into hardware and making things pretty and shiny. Like they make really nice looking hardware, and that's always fun to watch.
Got you. So you got the golden banana and the golden Xbox One X and
then I fell asleep.
My man, Lord Piscatella. So let's get to the rest of the Lords. First of all, who did get a chance to watch this whole thing yet? Anybody else finish it yet, or at least catch most of it?
I did, and
okay.
I felt that they need to adopt a more Nintendo Direct type of way of doing things. They just seem like the not so hip older uncle that tries to be hip, and he's like, "Hey, what you guys are doing? It's lit outside." No, don't say that. So that's how it comes across to me. And yeah, it's cringeworthy. But I've noticed now, because I'm looking at the Xbox dashboard, and they broke it down, like I said, into snippets of 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. What I said is, what they should have did was do the show as a whole and release it at 20-minute segments on a Friday if you choose, every week. Or, break it down even further that it's like 5 minutes every day of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it has something to look forward to. The way that people are consuming things, they want it quick, they want it fast, they just want the information. Yeah. I think the Nintendo Directs are done perfectly, that they control the narrative, they get out of the way of the video games, they put the video games front and center, they let you see what you want to see. I don't care for the banter back and forth. I don't care for the interaction between it was like a game show, like contestants. It just it rubbed me completely the wrong way, and they have been missing the mark on that so much in presentation. Sony is king, Nintendo is second, and following by a far third is Microsoft always.
Fair enough. Lord Addict, I'm curious. We watched a bit of it together. You're my watch buddy. So what did you feel? What's your whole thing? Do you think it was like as far as the format, or what they need to change?
Good. Like, I don't know why people expected this to be E3 caliber. Like, this is monthly. This isn't like one thing they did. This is actually like more consistent than Directs are. It's going to be every month, regardless. Sometimes you go like a couple months without Directs.
So the fact that your thing is the fact that you love it, like it's a monthly thing.
Well, it's not that. It's just I had my expectations to how it was put into place. It's like they expect, first off, of any kind of big announcements, that's always E3. That's when the most eyes are on them. They're not going to show like the next Fable on Inside Xbox.
It's not going to be on Inside Xbox? I'm not going to get that?
I feel like this is mainly a platform that, places like first at IGN, when they have a State of Decay, that you might see less and less of that and more on this.
Got you. Okay. Do you think, let me ask you this question, because you actually got my mind racing. So do you think they're going to use this more in conjunction? Because the Sea of Thieves, they really double down. And we do know that's coming very shortly, right? And it's in the Game Pass. Do you think they're also going to use this as a platform to springboard like the Game Pass stuff as well, and really get more into depth? Like you may see something next month with State of Decay.
Segment saying what's going to happen next month.
Okay. So overall, you were satisfied.
Yeah, obviously there was a lot of corny moments, like a lot. Like I feel like I was saying that was corny more than I was actually watching the.
Yes, because I heard
stream. But it was good for what it is. Like people want what they want, and they want it exactly how they want it. Like we got what we wanted, but you didn't get it exactly how you wanted. Like you can't have both sometimes.
The finest is coming at you. He said you're damage controlling, 2 hours long. He's coming for you hard to chat, bro. Like he's not playing no games with you.
Look, man, we're probably going to talk about this on Planet Xbox too. If you want the R-rated version, you want really going in on you, come there.
And he has spoken. Lord Saul, what do you feel? What's your overall impressions on this thing, man?
I fall sort of in the middle between what King said and what Addict said, because with King I do agree that they're just bad at how they message things, and like they're bad at just being quick, concise, get to the point, focus on what everybody wants to see, which is the games, or the announcement. Like quickly focus on the announcement. The banter between like hosts and stuff like that. I don't care for it. I just want to see the games. Like
facts.
With Nintendo Directs, they control the message, and they still manage to give you some of that Nintendo weirdness and quirkiness. They still give you that. So it's something that they just need to work on with that.
Am I the only one that feels like Nintendo's going to do that little snap their finger thing every podcast now?
Oh yeah, that's
I like it though.
That's the thing. Is an audio cue.
That's the Switch thing. King was talking about that last night. How that gives you the cue that something new is coming on the screen. If they're talking about something that you don't care for, when they snaps his fingers, there's something new. So it's been there from the beginning. It's perfect.
Gotcha.
But to Addict's point, I do think like it gives it the opportunity to evolve, right? Like I don't necessarily see this being the format for next month's thing. I think the content is gonna kind of dictate how they handle it on a month-to-month basis. Fair. So I don't necessarily see it being this stagnant thing every month, that it's going to be the same format and whatnot. And then from the stuff that they announced themselves, me, I'm a tech head, so like for me, the variable refresh rate stuff is huge.
That was what got me. Game mode, 1440p. Like I was like geeking off of that stuff.
Yeah, the game mode stuff not so much for me. I only play in low latency mode in any time, like in a competitive shooter or something like that. Beyond that, I don't turn it on. I think it affects, because
it affects video quality.
It affects the quality adversely a little bit. So I'd rather not. But if you're playing something competitive, you give yourself the best advantage you possibly can. But the variable refresh rate stuff is huge, because not everybody plays on monitors, and not everybody has a FreeSync monitor. But this, over the past year, I think there start to be TVs that are implementing it more and more. And I think as this stuff becomes more ubiquitous in consoles, Xbox doing it now, maybe PlayStation does it in the future, I think we'll start seeing more TVs that support it. So I think it's a huge thing,
Yeah. I'll jump in real quick. I was watching it with Addict. It was a little too long and sleep-inducing at certain parts. I understand Lord Piscatella's frustration.
No, it had nothing to do with the show. I was just really tired.
I will let you rock with that one.
Well, yeah, I wanted to bring up something I seen in the chat.
Go for it.
Brap, you my dude, okay? But you can't tell me that you had zero expectations for this and then complain when what didn't go to your expectations. That's literally contradicting what you just said. Like, you can't have zero expectations and be like, I didn't really think they were going to show anything. And then, how long was your guys' podcast yesterday?
Oh, we did Lords of Arcade with the
so like, you can't spend that whole time complaining about it and then expect me to believe you really had zero expectations.
Right. No, listen, man. At the end of the day, I'm on a phone with shout out to Tick Podcast last night. They had a good show, and also shout out to Lord Sam Tolbert, our Lord Editor. I came in with low expectations. I knew at this point in the stage, where Microsoft is for me. I'm just happy that they're doing something like this. This is something that Microsoft really hasn't done this gen so far. Sony's been the king of that with the PSXs and all these other little shows and stuff like that. Nintendo's been pumping it out with the directs to direct minis. So just for Microsoft to say, look, we're going to throw ourselves in the hat. This is something the fans want. Because let's be honest, the fans get tired of just waiting for E3 and hopefully maybe they say something at Gamescom. So as a monthly thing, I think that's pretty cool. Was it
got to restructure it?
Yeah, they got to restructure. It's the first one. Was it way too long? Yes. Was it, your weird uncle awkward in some parts?
I feel like they quoted Major Nelson's gloves more than anything else.
Yeah, the Major Nelson's gloves guy, like he was Van White out there with the.
Like, I'm just like, look, man, this is ridiculous. Like, and one thing I do have an issue with what they did is like, I thought they were going to show us new stuff on Sea of Thieves. They literally showed us everything we've already known. Like, it was nothing new. So like that does kind of make me a little bit aggravated because it's like, I understand they're trying to say stuff like the Kraken for launch, but there's a lot of people that's completely down the middle with this game. So they needed to do something to win them over. And what they showed yesterday, just re-showing everything they've showed, is not the way to do it.
Got you. So again, this is something that, they can learn as far as presentation, just like Lord King said, Sony, I feel, is king with knowing how to present, how to get that stuff out. We reiterated, again, last night on Lords of the Arcade with Enrique. And, like I said, I'm just glad the hat's in the ring. I'm glad it's monthly, though. To me, honest, State of Decay is more my game. So that's the Inside Xbox. I don't think
that's going to happen with Inside Xbox.
They better.
I think IGN's going to show the majority of that. And if they do,
you're right.
They might recap it with IGN.
They might recap what they did with IGN, but I would expect State of Decay 2 in some form at the next Inside Xbox, especially when this is a platform that they can use to promote those Game Pass exclusive games that's going to be dropping. Because the key to the service like this, if it's going to adopt like this Netflix style service, the key is going to be content. You have to keep producing exclusive content to make people want to stay subscribed and stay engaged with said service. So, I mean, it's just my opinion. What do you feel, Matt, in reference to, them with Game Pass and promotion? Like, what do you feel about that?
I agree. Like, they're going to have to keep bringing new content in and cycling stuff out and keeping people in the service. Yeah, I mean, how any subscription service really works when it's not tied to paying for multiplayer gameplay.
And another thing that kind of like, since you're bringing it up, Matt, like why, like if they're going to use this service and they're going to do it every month, don't say we're going to announce one game coming to Game Pass next month and we'll save the rest for later. What? Like, you should probably announce them all on that platform if you want that to actually do something.
It's gonna be interesting, I mean, we'll see. This thing hopefully may evolve. This may not be the set format. They may be still finding their way. But that's what I had on it. If any of the lords, had anything else, we'll wrap this thing up. Yeah, so it looks like we had we got the new ILP poll, which will be based on said show. So with the recent return of Microsoft's Inside Xbox show, how satisfied are we with the format/direction of the show? The choices are: A, relax, it was just the debut, show is perfectly fine as it is. B, show is way too long, needs to mimic condensed Nintendo Direct format. C, presentation needs to improve and mimic Sony. Or D, I don't care as long as I get Major Nelson and those white gloves.
You realize that your last choice is always something ridiculous, right?
You gotta love it, right?
The I don't care choice.
Notice that he was spreading that, like that nonsense is spreading like a plague.
I know, they love it. I get a lot of this.
By the end,
you have to give people the outlet.
People with gloves. Watch out, Matt. He's coming for you next. You're going to be wearing some white gloves.
Tell me about it.
That is the question. Those are the choices. Please rock the vote and hit the ILP Twitter polls hard when it go up. Lord Matt Piscatella of the NPD group, much appreciated for stopping by in the realm of the Lords, dropping knowledge, educating us, educating the chat. Absolute pleasure to have you on the show, man. Where can the fine people find you and what else do you have going on?
Oh, man. Well, thank you very much for the invite. It's been awesome. It's great spending part of Sunday with you. I don't know. I'm on Twitter at Matt Piscatella with one T because my mom was on drugs in the 70s. And I got a blog on npd.com where I'll post some longer form stuff. I have to post. I haven't posted in a little bit. I need to post something. So I'm gonna write something and put it there.
Nice, man. Yeah, definitely give us the links to those those posts, and I'll put them up. And also, will we be getting any of those your monthly NPD videos? I really look forward to those. Like, are those coming back?
Yeah, so I missed January. Things happened. So for February, I'll be in a hotel room for 4 days with not much else to do at night. So yeah, I'm guessing February it's going to come back. It should be right around, I don't know, the 20th or whatever day that is. So yes,
nice.
Or 21st, 20th. No, 20th.
20th. All right, so we're gonna look out for it on the 20th. Now, real quick question in reference to generally, it's like after the 15th of the month is when generally those numbers you're allowed to kind of talk about and put them out for the previous month.
Yeah, it works off the retail calendar. It's all confusing. Generally, the second or third Tuesday of the month is when these things will come out, but it's weird. It depends.
You're at the mercy of them sometimes, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all retail calendar based. So, but I generally post things on Twitter about when it's coming out.
Absolutely. Also, please support. Like I said, you can catch him as well. He's on the SDGC podcast. Great groups, guys. Lord Negative. He's been on the show multiple times. Also, you can catch him sometimes on the Basement Radio Arcade podcast. Also, dropping knowledge over there. Who was in the chat, So really appreciate that. So we're gonna get our outros going on. My co-host with the co-most, Lord Addict. What do you have cooking up, and when can the fine people find you? I guess he can't be found. The tooth took him down.
No, I'm here. I was talking to my brother.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Was this my outro?
Yeah, it's outro time, brother.
All right, I appreciate everyone for coming by. I definitely appreciate Matt for coming by. It's like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I wanted to actually sit down and have a conversation with you, so I made myself get up with a wisdom tooth impacted. Appreciate it. I definitely follow you on Twitter, and thanks for all the hard work you do in the industry.
Oh, thank you. Right on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Definitely a Lord in the realm. Lord Sovereign. What's going on with you, and where can the fine people find you?
Well, yeah, first off, man, much thanks to Matt for coming through. We realize how hectic your schedule is. Like, it's kind of nuts. And we appreciate so much that you take time out of your schedule to come here and talk to us, because I know, it has to be kind of crazy, like your work being sort of like the fuel for the fanboy wars and stuff like that. So it's always great to have you on and for you to kind of set people right and give your perspectives on what's going on in this industry that we all love. So really appreciate your time, man.
Oh, right on. Anytime. That was fun.
Absolutely. Lord King. Where can the fine people? And I'm glad we got the clarification out with the fudging. I love that segment. That was awesome. Lord King, you there? Oh, he looks like he's muted. He looks like he may have stepped away a little bit. Hopefully, we get him back.
Well, sorry, yeah, I was muted. I was sitting there saying, First and foremost, I would like to say thanks, Matt, for showing up. Great show. I knew it was going to be a great show which you was on. A lot of viewers tuned in to listen to what you had to say and to get a better understanding of how they actually work, how the numbers actually work. And you were very articulate and clear in getting it across. You actually answered the question that I didn't think that you was going to even approach. So I'm very happy in that. Like I said, I'm so happy that you showed up. The fine people can find me on Twitter, Instagram. Oh, no, you're not. Don't.
We're not doing that.
I'll shut you down there. Don't just look for me on Twitter and Xbox and PlayStation, and that's it.
No doubt.
Hold on. King, you gotta tell them your PlayStation gamer tag.
Yes, tell them everyone your PlayStation gamer tag. They love that.
Oh, and this is real, Matt. Is Xbox 360 Lover 01.
And there you have it.
And the fact that Sony doesn't allow you to change your name, it's mine forever.
Oh my God, it's Lord Cognito here. The gaming realness has been spread in the realm. once again, much appreciated for Lord Piscatella coming out, taking time out of his extremely busy schedule. Really appreciate what he does for gamers. He's very personable. You know, definitely if you have any questions, tweet him. He's very active on Twitter. And it's always good to see the trends in the industry and just to learn where things are going. And again, really can't thank you enough for coming by the Iron Lord podcast and dealing with our foolishness in the realm of the Lords. But yeah, man, we're gonna do these outros real quick. Please hit, like I said, thanks everyone for hitting the like and subscribe. Chat was absolutely lit today. Thank you so much for all the support and supporting the Inner Circle Network media outlets. Tick Podcast was last night. They had a great show. The Multiverse is up tomorrow. Also, you can catch us on iTunes and SoundCloud. The links are going to be in the description. I'm going to also have Matt Piscatella's info in there as well as YouTube channel, because I love those videos when he puts them out. But also, yeah, thank you for also continue to support the Flashpoint series that I do with Evantis. Number 7 is up. It was a fun show. We had a lot of stuff going on there, and we got some more stuff cooking up. You know, the Lords will be at PAX and hopefully E3. So if you're out in these areas, please support, come by, say hi to the Lords. Lord King's going to have some things cooking up for you as well, so that's gonna be good. But on that note, everyone enjoy their Sunday, have a good time, and we're gonna kill this thing, man. We out of here. Peace.